This replay was sent in by FPod featuring two evil gunline factions and was absolutely way too close not to share. Domination from one of Turin's recent tournaments. He's taken the Skaven up against the foul Vampire Coast. So let's take a look at the starting armies very quickly. Coming in with Throt the Unclean, leading the way. Armor piercing with poison damage, fast speed, good charge, of course. He's got healing abilities and summons as well. I think did he actually take the healing is the question. I believe the remoldered. Yep, there it is. So should be pretty good there. He's also got two Regiment of Renown weapons teams to start, I believe, or maybe just the one. Yeah, looks like, no, there are two here. Avalanche Mortars, Natty Bubo's Sharpshooters. We've got Death Runners out on the side. Clan Rat Spears and the regular Clan Rats through the center, as well as a Clan Vulcan's Tail Slashers. Specifically, the fire resistance here will be useful if the Vampire Coast bring any bombers, because the bombs actually deal fire damage. A lot of people don't know that, but it's true. On the King of the Dead's side here, another longtime veteran of Total War Warhammer, he's got Luther Harkon up in the air, a bunch of pistol mobs up front, second hand of some halberds and regular deckhands. We've got two cannons in the back, good old carronades, and a couple of halberd mobs with a Lore of Deeps caster featuring just Kraken's Pull and Vanguard's Revenge. So looking for that sweet area of effect damage. And let's take a look at the reserve armies real quick. For Skaven's reserves, we've got the Regiment of Renown, Council Guard, Storm Vermin with halberds, Ikid Zap Zap, Regiment of Renown Warp Lightning, the Regiment of Renown Rattling Guns, the Teeth Breakers. We've also got 4 Rat Ogres, 2 Poison Wind Globes, 2 Wolf Rats with Poison, and 2 Skaven Slave Spears. For King of the Dead's Vampire Coast reserves, he's got the Regiment of Renown Necrofex, the Gallows Giant. He's got a single Depth Guard, the ROR Debt Gunners, the Shade Wraiths, Morn Ghoul, 3 Scurvy Dogs, a single Animated Hulk, a single Bomber, Bat Bomber, 2 Deck Dropper Pistols, and a Fell Bat. As we have Ikit's Claw coming immediately out of reserve. So, Ikit's kind of elite weapons teams definitely going to work, helping out Throt the Unclean here. I mean, given the map, it's very appropriate to have Throt up here in the north. I'd imagine that this is somewhere close to Hell Pit, maybe out there on the coast near Norska, intercepting Luther Harkon's pirate horde. I don't know. Come up with your own headcanon about that, but certainly the Natty Bubo Sharpshooters and the Ikit Zap Zap here together in tandem will be very dangerous for Luther Harkon. He's not going to want to hang around this area for too long or risk taking a bunch of damage. Nice concealment bombs popped from the Vixtran's Death Squad here. Let's see if they can make their way all the way up and around, maybe get into this nice line of 3 carronades here, now ready to go. Depth Guard also coming out, and we've got the 1 bomber unit from this Vampire Coast build. I guess 1 of 2, right? 1 of 2 Deck Dropper bombers, and should be pretty decent here. Certainly the Deck Droppers in many ways are less vulnerable than the regular bombers. You can see already the Avalanche Mortars starting to just disintegrate a bunch of zombie pistol mobs there. Luther Harkon also kind of skirmishing a little bit with Natty Bubo's Sharpshooters, taking some serious damage. Ikit Zap Zap also hitting him there, increasing his cooldowns, which is going to be pretty rough. I mean, let's see, what did he actually bring here? Just the Goose Breath and Hornswaggle. A Hornswoggle, I guess. He does also have the spell resistance, which is going to be mildly useful here. It doesn't actually help against magic damage like it used to. Previously, that would have actually helped against the Warp Lightning Cannon like in Warhammer 2, right? That's not the case here. It would help against something like, I guess, Liber Bubonicus, but Liber Bubonicus really isn't that good right now from Skrulk. So anyway, not really sure what's going on there, but Harkon is going to at least just hard land on top of these Avalanche Mortars. There's nothing here to really protect them, so he can just come in here and tear a few of the unit models down, get hit by some Warp Lightning in the process, but still, definitely a good high-value target for him to go after. We do have some Rat Ogres summoned in response, though, so he's going to have to be careful, get back up in the air. Meanwhile, Vampire Coast taking a pretty decisive lead on points. Vixtran's Death Squad did eventually get back and devour those cannon crews. Sad I missed it, but hey, they're ninjas. They do their best work in the dark anyway. Now they're just going to get mostly caught up in a bunch of zombie halberds. Looks like King of the Dead responding with a Morn Ghoul summon. Going to get in there and deal some pretty good damage, but let's see. Vixtran's Death Squad definitely has very good melee defense with strength in numbers active. They've got their duck and weave as well. So yeah, 54 melee defense. They'll go down relatively slowly, but unsupported there, it's definitely going to be a rough engagement for them. Avalanche mortars continuing to fire, even while in melee, as the depth guard just punch straight through the front line. Throt summons up some rat ogres to help defend here, but he's kind of hanging out on the periphery here. He's only got 45 armor, so these pistols are actually fairly dangerous to him. He's got to be careful not to take too much damage from them. Natty Bubo's sharpshooters also just teeing off on the deck dropper bombers here. Even though they're not the most high value target in the world, tactically you definitely want to deal with them. Let's see though, I kind of want to keep the wide view. Vixter and Death Squad still fighting in the far foreground, or background I guess. The deck dropper bombers also dropping down there. And just occupying the Natty Bubos in melee. Interesting play there, I'm not really sure. I was going to see how much damage they could do with their bombs, but speaking of bombs, we've got some Poison Wind Globes coming out. Wolfrats just kind of hanging around the edges there, and the Rat Ogres also staying in position to defend. The few remaining Avalanche Mortars still can get some amazing value and a great number of kills here. Certainly the first part of that equation will be true against these Depth Guards. They get a few nasty hits in there. More pistol mobs. Yeah, I guess, yeah, just trying to survive here on the center objective. Got some Plague Monks in here. Clan Rats all fighting, but a nice Kraken's pull from King of the Dead. Going to do a lot of AoE damage, similar to like a Pit of Shades before. It's a stationary vortex, does a pretty good amount of damage overall, and definitely will help equalize that fight pretty considerably. But the Plague Monks are still doing an okay job. Look at this. Focus fire for the pistols. Luther Harkon jumping down onto the ground. All of a sudden, Throt is in pretty serious trouble. Looks like that he actually have a Hornswaggle, or Disrupted, sorry, from big old hitch there. I'm not really sure why, from Luther Harkon. But looks like we've also got some Clan Rat Spheres trying to go over. So FPOD doing a good job of pressuring all three objectives, even if he's not necessarily being successful. Right now, Vampire Coast, King of the Dead, taking a slight lead on points, but he's able to protect most of his high-value units here in the back. He's got Rat Ogres now defending. Natty Bubos, looks like Ikid Zapsap possibly got unsummoned there. I'm not really sure, to be honest. But anyway, Globadier is also moving into position, so the weapons teams so far have been very effective for the Skaven, but they're still having a hard time just getting on this capture rate and out-capturing all these zombies who are not technically unbreakable, but effectively unbreakable, right? Because crumbling does very little damage, so they'll continue to hold this objective even while their leadership is broken for quite some time. Hornswaggle and Taunt being double tapped on Throt puts him down to 0 armor and 0 melee defense. He's at huge risk now. King of the Dead almost gets him pinned with the animated Hulks plus Harkon, but actually the Skaven are able to help kind of screen for him a little bit there. Harkon gets distracted, as do the animated Hulks, largely into the Clan Rats, which does help at least use up some of the uptime. Both of those debuffs then drop from Throt, and he's not at nearly as much of a risk in just fighting at this fight here, allowing these Poison Wind Globadiers to fire in from this flank. So nice job there. Animated Hulks, Morngul's even, still trying to punch through all the monstrous infantry for Vampire Coast is useful, but I love this little side cap here, cheeky little side cap with the Clan Rat Spear with shield, so kind of it would take something, again, like a bomber, really, to dislodge these guys. I guess maybe get a couple of Hounds and Bats, since they don't count as large, would probably be able to do it as well. But anyway, Natty Bubos once again taking up arms, taking their aim against Luther Harkon here, as Throt runs away and regenerates. Ikid Zapsap comes back out once again. Throt's going to rally. Vampire Coast, King of the Dead, hasn't really challenged over here. He could definitely, if he has units available, just like run again some Dogs and Bats over here and try and pressure the low leadership of those Clan Rats, because, of course, Dogs and Bats cause fear, as do all undead units. So a unit like Clan Rats, if you just charge them from multiple directions, even if they're not necessarily losing combat, you can sometimes get them to just straight route away. Throt's going to intercept some of the animated Hulks here. He's regenerated quite a bit of health. He's going to be subjected to another taunt, though, and hopefully during this time, Ikid Zapsap and Natty Bubos can capitalize and try and do as much damage as possible to Harkon. Harkon's approaching his healing cap. Throt's still got quite some way to go, and this Lord of Plague caster also still hanging around, able to summon in some supporting Clan Rats. The animated Hulks do get distracted going after the Poison Wind Globes, which is probably the right call at the end of the day, considering how, you know, high value of a target that is. These two are actually pretty close in cost to each other, so the animated Hulks can take out the bombers. That's pretty decently cost effective just in and of itself. Center objective, again, it's tough for the Skaven to amass enough capture weight here. Skaven Slave Spears are expendable. Not really going to be contributing much to that capture, but at the very least, Harkon is just about gone, even at his healing cap. Natty Boobos have used up almost all of their ammunition shooting at him and probably got, yeah, 2,200 damage value. I mean, they did shoot some bombers and stuff too, to be fair. But got some pistol deck droppers up in the air now, trying to fire in at these Skaven Slave Spears, just providing a little bit of leadership debuff. And the Shade Wraith Gunners also have been out for some time and firing, providing, again, leadership debuffs, specifically the Discourage effect. I think they also count as artillery. Artillery and small arms have their own unique leadership debuffs, so stacking the two of them together, plus Discourage, plus, you know, Fear from Undead, can be quite a lot for Skaven leadership to deal with, and you can just route units straight up without really having to fight them all that much. But another Tides Call here. Going to probably, yeah, not quite finish off. Man, those bombers have really gone on quite the journey, actually, all the way over to these Clan Rat Spears that were defending this objective. Managed to pull the animated Hulks all the way out of position. Throt, though, does get caught and probably killed by Luther here. Let's see if he's able to get away. Hornswaggle and Poison significantly debuffing his speed there. But it looks like we've got the Teethbreakers, Regiment of Renown, Rattling Guns out now as well, able to also speed debuff some of these Vampire Coast troops. But, yeah, I mean, Throt's down to, like, right below 200 HP, now down below 100 HP. I'd be very surprised if he survives, but he might. He does actually shatter. But let's keep his health card up, actually, and see if he actually dies, because it will make a difference in terms of leadership for the Skaven, whether or not the Lord actually dies or flees the field. Different leadership debuff, and we kind of come back to that interaction, but looks like he was able to actually escape there, so Archon's not going to be so lucky. He's definitely going to buy the farm here fairly soon. Deck Dropper is focusing now on Ikit Zap Zap. They need to engage it in melee, so it can't just get unsummoned here. Harkon also moves down to do so. Things are looking pretty grim at this point for the Skaven. I mean, he's pretty far behind even on army damage value. Unfortunately, I can't see. It's actually probably pretty close. I really should look into that mod that's in development to fix the UI for replays. But anyway, Natty Boobos there, or Shade Wraith Gunners rather, opening up and continuing to fire. The resummon Avalanche Mortars, plenty of ammunition and health now to continue fighting. But will they have the protection they need is the question. These zombies could try and press up into the objective, but here's one of the risks of getting up in Skaven's deployment zones is that weapons teams tend to have very good burst damage, so as you kind of crowd them in, they can get summons right on top of you and just start to swarm from multiple directions. Like here, you get the Wolf Rats out. They're very quickly going to rout, but even still, the time they were able to get damage in on those Deck Gunners, get the Spears out as well. Natty Boobo's out again? Yes, indeed. So the Skaven's weapon teams come out and just, you know, they got teeth immediately. There's really not enough resources to effectively crowd this deployment zone. I mean, Skaven Slave Spears come out and literally instantly rout, which is just hilarious, but there you go. FPOD does manage to get these Wolf Rats back from rout right before they go off the map, which is just fantastic. The Teethbreakers should also recover their leadership as well. It gets Zap Zap. Does likewise. More Clan Rat Spears coming in. A little bit of a heavier unit to help contest against these Hounds. And if he can kind of deal with King of the Dead's overextension, it looks like he's got a big force of animated Hulks, Wolf Rats, and other relatively mobile units coming in. But he should still be able to get some good response going. And all of this kind of center focus does mean this opportunity is open. These Wolf Rats can come through, charge down this gunnery mob, and try and equalize the objective situation a little bit, claw back some victory tickets. Things are definitely looking pretty grim. Definitely not looking great. Unfortunate thing for King of the Dead here is his zombies are really too slow to catch the weapons team, so he has to rely on these mobile units. So him kind of throwing them away by overextending is going to come back to haunt him potentially, which is why now I think he's kind of hanging back with a few of them. Also sees these Wolf Rats here contesting. Wolf Rats, unfortunately, their leadership is so low that they'll probably actually just lose this, even though they should win in terms of, you know, unit kind of role and combat-wise. You know, they definitely have the stats to win, but certainly a rear charge from those Scurvy Dogs should be enough to force them back, but it does force these mobile units to respond here rather than rushing straight back to try and deal with these weapons teams. It gets Zap Zap getting back online as well. So the damage is now incoming, and the Rat Ogres can charge forth, fight the animated Hulks, you know, monstrous infantry, smash style. Not a fight I thought I would see today, but there you go. It's a fairly unusual matchup. Not one you saw very much in Warhammer 2, just because animated Hulks were largely pretty terrible. But a little bit of friendly fire from the avalanche mortars there is not really going to help the Rat Ogres too much, but it gets Zap gets online. Teethbreakers are moving in to point-blank range so that they don't miss any shots. It's going to be risky, but certainly the speed debuff. Ooh, if they can actually start firing. There we go. And now you side charge exactly back in with the Rat Ogres there just to break the leadership, and those animated Hulks should evaporate fairly quickly. The Avalanche Mortars also try to move into position to make sure those pistol mobs can't move in to help. We've also got Wolf Rats here just kind of chilling with the spears, defending this position in case King of the Dead does decide to rush over, but those bombers still have a little bit of ammunition. The Wolf Rats can also move in using their mobility to help out, try and just rush this center objective. But we'll see. We've got some more Clan Rat, or Skaven Slave Spears, rather, kind of trying to sneak through the forests over here on the side. Good screening here with these Clan Rats and the Rat Ogres as well, coming out to make sure those Scurvy Dogs can't get into weapons teams. The Bats are definitely trying their best, but Clan Rats are also moving through. And Morngul's taking some fire as well, so been interesting. You know, the Rat Ogres, fairly cost-effective. I mean, I say that. Mass blocking-wise, it's good to have them, certainly. And I'd imagine we'll see quite a bit of value on the weapons teams from that. In fact, Natabubo has just about gone through their second round of ammunition, almost up to 3,000 damage value. Same thing with Thicket Zap, so those long-range Skaven Clan Scryer units definitely proving their value here. And the long value play is how FPod's going to have to try and win this. I mean, certainly he's in a position to capture center objective right now, value trade-wise. You actually add things up. He's got a lot more value on the field right now because of the weapons teams able to be preserved here. And Poison Wind's moving in. You can see them just shredding units as they get close, but the Wolf Rats are going to try and respond. Try to shut them down momentarily. Will it be enough, though, is the question. These pistol mobs definitely going to crumble out, and Carronades now being summoned in to try and counteract the Rat Ogres, I think. Might have just continued to macro in more infantry to try and keep value capture weight on the center. It's hard to say, but man, look at the Avalanche Mortars. The health bars just disappear once they start firing into that blob, and it is a very brutal affair for both sides, to be honest. Again, the Wolf Rat sneak through on the side. Clan Vulcan's Tail Slashers coming through. They're going to be a little bit more elite in terms of leadership, melee defense, and whatnot. Should be able to hold out on that objective fairly well. And let's see how they go. Avalanche Mortars just about out of health, but look at that. Still 8 unit models online, which is certainly enough to make a significant difference here. Oh man, the pure friendly fire there as they kind of try and hit the deck droppers out of the air. It's left on fire at will, which is hilarious. Oh yeah, just taking some nice chunks out of those Clan Rats. Very Skaven thing to do. These Poison Wind Globes even come back from out. They've been on the field for quite some time. 200 damage value, 1850. So Clan Scryer definitely coming out the winner, even though Throt is technically in charge of this army. I mean, he did get beat up and routed off, so all according to plan. Icket Claw's plan, that is. Yes. Wolf Rats versus Scurvy Dogs here. Interesting animations. I don't know. There's some weird blood effects going on, but I mean, 1v1, Wolf Rats should do pretty well, especially since they're kind of charging downhill somewhat. The Scurvy Dogs won't suffer uphill penalties, but the Wolf Rats will get the benefit of charging downhill. Wolf Rats' leadership is pretty poor. You can see they were wavering there, even though they were still winning combat. And typically, they will, in like a land battle situation, they will often lose this engagement. The Wolf Rats will, just because the difference in leadership. You can see the Scurvy Dogs, even though they're crumbling, can still counterattack back, get to support, and end up routing off the Wolf Rats and winning the fight at the end of the day, right? But thankfully, the Clan's Vulcan's Tail Slashers was a great move. FPod just barely made it to the 3 cap in time. Yeah, King of the Dead sitting at 1489 in terms of points there. Victory tickets to win. And this is why I think macroing in the Carronade was a little bit of a mistake. He really needs this value just in infantry on capture, or even if it's just more Scurvy Dogs or whatnot. but just to be able to amass some extra bodies on this far objective to hold it, even just for a few more seconds, and he would have had the win here. But right now, FPod's in a very good position with that slow clan scryer push. The weapons teams, if we take a look around the battlefield, there's not anything left, really, for Vampire Coast. They're going to kind of all in with some relatively mobile monstrous infantry. The pistol mobs as well with Vanguard can get in here relatively quickly, all things considered. But this is another position where bombers would be super helpful. Skaven probably wouldn't be able to respond quickly enough before you could get bombers into position, and they would clear out everything on this objective pretty quickly. I mean, even the Clan Vulcan's Tail Slashers, 20% fire resistance would only go so far because the bomber's DPS is just so high, and the Clan Vulcan's Tail Slashers don't have armor or anything else. If they had like maybe 85 armor and 20% fire resistance, then that would actually make a pretty significant difference, I think. But the lack of armor does mean that they're still just going to get shredded. Lack of armor by bombs, yeah. Anyway. At this point, though, FPod's in a pretty good position. We'll fast forward as things kind of, you know what, actually, let's keep it nice and close. We'll watch the Wolf Rats, or the Rat Ogres, do some funny physics and bounce off the Morngulls here. We've got animated hulks as well. Clan Vulcan's Tail Slashers actually nerfing the healing rate of Morngulls, so of course fire damage is going to be useful against pretty much all undead, and any faction which is going to take a lot of healing. There you go. Skaven are able to take home the win, so big thanks to FPod for sending that one in. That was super, super close at the end there. I thought for sure that Vampire Coast would be able to hold on and just, yeah, keep that objective long enough to take it. And I do think you just take that cannon out at the end and replace it with a couple of infantry summons or whatever to hold that our objective. And I think he had it, but it's still a very nice showcase of these Clan Scryer range units as well. The beautiful ninja rat play there, getting into the cannon line, shutting them down. None of the cannons were cost effective at the end of the day. I think this one was summoned twice, so that's not great. Archon's reasonably decent, but he's still super expensive, and considering he also doesn't contribute all that much on capture weight, I don't know that I would take him in Domination. I don't know. I guess if you can get enough value out of him and just win the fight, that's all that matters, right? But definitely more Morngulls and Bats and Dogs, I think, would be the way to go here, supported by Bombers. Elite Infantry has pretty much always been terrible against Skaven. I mean, maybe at first when they didn't have any DLCs, but pretty much ever since, you know, like Globadiers have been viable, or they've had Mortars, or even I've seen recently a few replays where Giselles were a decent anti-infantry tool. They just they have a lot of tools for dealing with elite infantry, so I'd probably cut the Depth Guard. Even though they did get a lot of kill numbers, their value is super bad, so just cut them. Bring some more bombers, bring some more bats and dogs, and more mobility, because the bats and dogs all did really well for the most part. I mean, 200 kills, 1500 value is hard to argue with there on a unit that you can resummon 3 or 4 times and still have it pay for itself 3 or 4 times, right? So pretty interesting stuff all the way around. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see the Gallows Giant, but again, pretty risky pick against a faction which can take such great missile options. And I think the only Clan Scryer unit that underperformed here is actually the Teethbreakers. And I mean, tactically they were useful enough to kind of help continue to contest in the center there, but certainly not as cost effective as these others. But man, look at they can zap. Summoned twice, still pays for itself, more than twice. Yeah, the Globadiers as well, almost 4 times their value, and I think they were only summoned once, which is just insane. Rat Ogres also contributing quite nicely at the end of the day, as do the Wolf Rats. So, very fun stuff. Big thanks to FPod for sending that one in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching that. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.